Today, we're diving into a workplace problem that feels all too modern. But to figure it out, we're going to dissect a wild corporate drama that went down almost 3,000 years ago. Yeah, you heard that right. Let's get into it. Okay, so let's set the scene. You're crushing it at work, maybe a little too well, and you start to feel it, that shift in the air. The person who's supposed to be your biggest champion, your boss, suddenly seems to be looking at you like a rival. This isn't just some awkward office thing. It's a power dynamic as old as time. And to really understand it, we've got to go way back to ancient China. Now, forget about missed deadlines and passive-aggressive emails. We're talking about a feud where kingdoms were on the line, and the fallout was literally written into the history books. But believe me, the tension at the heart of it all, you're going to recognize it. So picture this. We're in China around 720 BCE. The ruling dynasty, the Zhou, is kind of losing its grip. And this big power vacuum, it created the absolute perfect storm for the story we're about to tell. You know, the easiest way to wrap your head around this is to think of it like a modern company. The Zhou Dynasty, they're like the big, fancy corporate headquarters. They've got the legacy brand, the prestigious name on the building, but the lights are flickering. Then you have the state of Zheng. That's the powerhouse subsidiary, the division that's actually innovating, making all the money, and holding all the real power. And this brings us to our main players. I've got the weak CEO, King Ping, who has the big title but not much else. And then there's his powerful EVP, Duke Zhuang, who not only runs the most successful part of the business, but also has a key role at HQ. So what happens? The CEO starts feeling overshadowed. He feels his power slipping away, and he decides he needs to sideline his star player, secretly, of course. And let me tell you, this wasn't some quiet little disagreement. The CEO's secret plan is about to light a fuse, setting off a chain reaction that leads to a complete, spectacular breakdown of trust. The result is, well, it's almost hard to believe. So, Duke Zhuang, our powerhouse EVP, finds out about this plot to cut him down to size. And instead of playing political games, he goes right to the king. He confronts him face to face. King Ping, caught red-handed, absolutely panics. He denies everything, sputtering things like, "No, never. You're my most trusted guy." But it's too late. The trust is completely shattered. And this brings us to a really fascinating question, right? When the boss has no real power, no leverage at all, how on earth can they convince a subordinate who holds all the cards that they can be trusted? The king's solution to this is, well, it's both totally desperate and historically hilarious. To prove he's not lying, the king makes this wild offer. They'll swap sons. Yeah, his own son will go live in the duke's territory as collateral, and the duke's son will come to the royal palace. Think about that. This isn't a negotiation between equals. This is a CEO offering a hostage to an employee just so his word will be believed. I mean, this moment just perfectly captures the total implosion of the old power structure. The second the head of the entire organization has to give up his own son as collateral to an employee, his authority is completely gone. It's the ultimate sign that the relationship is broken beyond repair. And from there, things just spiraled downwards, fast. The CEO, King Ping, dies not long after the hostage swap. His successor then tries to push forward with the original plan to weaken Duke Zhuang. Big mistake. The Duke responds with this final, crushing power move. He literally sends his troops to march onto the new king's royal land and just take all the grain. It was a public message saying, just so you know, I can starve you out whenever I feel like it. So, what on earth can we learn from this 2,700-year-old office meltdown? This story isn't just some ancient history lesson. It is a masterclass in the unwritten rules of power that are just as real in today's workplace as they were back then. All right, rule number one, and honestly, this might be the most important one. It gets right to the heart of what was really going on here, understanding where power actually comes from. Here's the big takeaway. Titles, org charts, job descriptions, they're all just suggestions. In any relationship with a power imbalance, the only thing that really truly matters is leverage. It's about your actual ability to make things happen. King Ping had the title of king, sure, but Duke Zhuang had the army, the money, the influence. That was real power. So what does this mean for you? Well, if you're the star employee in this scenario, remember that your real job security comes from the value you create, not the title on your email signature. And if you're the manager who's feeling a little threatened,
The absolute worst move you can make is to try and undermine a key player before you're ready to lose them completely. All you do is force a confrontation you're not ready for.
Okay, lesson number 2. This one moves past the power struggle and gives us a really critical warning about just how fragile trust really is. You know, trust is like the oil that keeps the gears of a professional relationship turning smoothly. Once it starts to go, the whole machine just grinds to a painful halt. That hostage exchange, that was the ultimate signal that the currency of trust had become completely worthless. Now, in a modern office, the hostage isn't a person. It's that ridiculously detailed contract. It's micromanagement. It's being CC'd on every single email. If you find yourself in a situation where the relationship is all about enforcing rules and penalties instead of creating value together, you are in the middle of a trust collapse. The relationship is already over. You just haven't filed the paperwork yet. And that brings us to our third and final rule, one that deals with the hardest decision you'll ever have to make in a power struggle. Duke Zhuang chose to confront the king head-on. It was a gutsy move, and in the short term, it worked. But here's the thing. Confrontation is a high-stakes gamble, and it always comes with hidden costs. So, when should you call out your boss? The lesson here is pretty stark. Only do it when you are so secure in your position that you are 100% prepared for that relationship to end, and you know you can land on your feet. But, and this is a huge but, Duke Zhuang won the fight, but history remembers him as being disloyal. In today's world, you might win that battle with your boss, but you could end up with a reputation that follows you everywhere. And that's really the final idea I want to leave you with. This incredible ancient story shows us that power is very real, and trust is incredibly fragile. But it also forces us to ask a really tough question. You might hold all the cards, you might know you can win, but what about your reputation? When is winning the battle actually the wrong move for your career?